business on display. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display. I got winners on the way. You know you can't knock the hustle. And if you gotta get in place, then we gon' put your business on display. Grab a seat, we need you for a minute. And if you got the goods, we can talk about your business. She know what it's like to make a move independently. And I don't fake us like that. We've been trusting God like that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display.
Hi there, everyone. Hi, how are you? Happy Saturday and happy Wednesday and happy Monday through Saturday, Monday through Sunday, whatever day you're coming on to this broadcast. We're super excited to be here. I am Nisha, and we are here today with Insightful Moments with Coach Nisha. I changed it up a little bit, but I am still all things Nisha's Network. I am so excited to be here today. So if you are watching, I would love for you to hit share. I would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nisha's Network. It's going to be amazing conversation today. And I want to talk a little bit about a sister's grace today. And I'm just grateful to be here because how many of you all know that God's grace is sufficient? Yes, 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 it is. It's so interesting how God will bring opportunities. He will allow circumstances. He will show up in moments where you need his grace. And grace is God's unmerited favor. So our topic today is a sister's grace. And my guest today is very dear to my heart, very special to me. And I've never talked to her before on Nisha's Network, but I am very grateful to have this opportunity today. And it's the season for it. You know how you come through seasons sometimes and you just need God's grace to show up. And I think that this is a season where I can really speak to the fact that our family needs a whole lot of grace, but of God's grace, but also the fact that sometimes just where we are needing God's grace. So without further ado, I'm going to invite my sister, none other than Cynthia Means. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me on. This is so exciting. Oh my goodness.
It's exciting. Okay,
This
good.
is very exciting.
Well, well, before we get started in our conversation today, and you guys, here's an opportunity for you to share. You're going to hear our personal journey and our personal testimony, and just talking about a sister's grace. And I'll tell you why I named the topic a sister's grace in a little while. But I want Cynthia to introduce herself. Tell us where you live currently, where you're from, and a little bit personally about yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Cynthia Means, and I am from the wonderful great city of Chicago, originally born and raised in Chicago. I am married to my husband, OC. We've been married for actually next month, 35 years, which
Wow.
is a blessing. I currently reside in Houston, Texas, moved almost a year ago. Uh, Big surprise, but I'm loving it. I have two children. I always tell people, well, an adult child and a teenager child. My son Antonio and my daughter Oceana, and I have two beautiful grandchildren, Antonio Jr. and Jada. Have a host of everybody, cousins, nieces, sisters, brothers, nephews, everybody. But that's a little about me. I've been, as far as my profession, a lot of people know I've been in the optical field for over 30 years. So loving helping people see better. So that's good for me and fun for me, actually.
That's a very long time to be in that field.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes. So I want to go ahead and tell you guys why I was sharing. I want to go ahead and tell you guys why I chose this topic. Um a lot of you all have always heard me say I'm the oldest of 8 children. I'm probably still over the 8 children, right? But
Yes.
I want to say that when I met Cynthia, um, the grace of God just exuded from you. I'm just gonna say you. It just really exuded. I mean, your smile, your care, your compassion, your grace for just the journey that you have been on as an individual, um not just through like literally how do I say this? Through you just being our sister, but the grace of God that's on your life, that you walk through storms and you still smile. Like I don't know anybody that wears a bigger smile than my sister. And I'm just really grateful to have you here. So let's talk a little bit about our introduction of how we even met.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna let you go for your version, and then I'll tell you mine.
Okay, so now I always joke and say I'm the oldest of nine and the youngest of two, and I always have to explain that. So, I didn't grow up with our dad. I grew up, my mom raised me and my sister Leona, she's gone home to be with the Lord. And so I was raised up in the two, just me and her growing up. And, you know, in this, where we are now, a lot of people grow up in, single parent homes. And I always knew, kind of where our dad was in terms of, we all grew up in church. And so I'm a church baby, church going. And so, fast forward, as I got older, I would say I think I was in my mid 30s. I started really kind of wanting to know, my family. And I was like, wow, I wonder, where my father is. And I always knew that I had brothers and sisters, but I didn't know how many. I just kind of knew that I had some. And so I would say mid 30s, I started really praying about it. And I can't tell you, because I don't remember, because I'm older, when Facebook became really popular. I don't remember. But I just remember.
I started stalking the girls. They were on MySpace.
Okay.
You remember MySpace?
Yes, I do.
Shortly after that was Facebook. And I literally, I had changed my name. That's another story for another day. But you just made me think about that. But yeah, so Facebook probably was in my awareness was probably like 2005.
Okay. And that's probably right. So, I'm saying that to say that's when I started thinking about it. I joined Facebook, class reunion, things like that's where my mind was. But then all of a sudden I said, man, people can search people on Facebook. So I literally, and I don't even know if I told you this, but I literally started looking for the name Morris Crawford, our dad. And I was like, I, didn't know what I was doing. I'm just looking for people to pop up. And the thing that some people may say, well, how would you even know? Well, I had a knowledge, like I said, growing up, of my dad, who he was, because we all were in church. And so even to the point of, as a young girl, the church that I went to at the time had an affiliation with the church that I later found you all went to. And it was not an accident. And we literally, our church pastor was very good friends with our grandfather. And so we would go actually to the church to sing in the choir and things, not knowing or not really understanding the fact that my family was there. So of course, fast forward, as I grew up and started that search, that's when I really started my mid 30s. That's when I started going, thinking about it. I kind of let it go for a while. And then I think it was when I hit maybe 40 or 41, early 40s, the Lord just put it on my heart. And, I'll kind of, well, did you want me to tell like how I met you all?
No, I'll tell that part.
Okay. So that's when yes. Okay. So that's when and I don't like to use the word burden, because it wasn't a burden, but that's when the urgency I felt to find you all, or to find whoever, because I didn't know how many of you all was.
You didn't know, right. And so I guess my next question was, when you were looking on social media, you didn't find anything?
I know. And it's funny, I found a young man named Morris Crawford. And to this day, I don't know who this young man is. And he probably thought I was crazy, because I thought maybe that was a brother that was named after that. And I sent him a message, everything. And this young man sent me back. He said, I live in, I don't know, it was New Jersey or something. So when I didn't know what I know now, how to search. So I left it alone.
Okay.
Because I didn't see anybody, but I didn't know anybody's name.
Okay. All right. So, well, let me just express that, first of all, before I tell my part, I want to say that God's healing, the sister's grace, is God's healing that is taking place in our family. And God used Cynthia that year to come into our lives at a time where there was some healing that needed to take place amongst our family, and every family needs healing,
Mm-hmm.
guys. And I want to focus in on something that you always say, always see the big picture. Now, I don't know how you could have seen the big picture, back then, but there was a bigger picture that God wanted us to see. And so I want to mention this though before we actually go into anything of how we met, is that I want you to talk about the grace of God of even carrying you through a season without our Father.
Oh yeah. So being, the youngest of my sister Leona and I was the youngest, and growing up, without a father, it was hard, because I was the type of person that always been joyful. I call myself the glass half full type person. It's hard for me to see negativity. And so growing up, I was always a smiler, as you mentioned. And I can remember something actually kind of hurtful as a child. And not really, and at that point, not having brothers or a father, not really feeling I had a covering or anyone to go to, because people used to tease me, and I mean tease bad, because I would laugh things off. They were like, and I remember this specifically. Somebody at church said this: nobody smiles that much. Nobody's always that happy, and that kind of hurt my feelings. And I'm like, and I didn't know enough as a child to know just to be me. But now I understand that was God's grace. The Lord, even as a child, was teaching me how to love. The Lord was teaching me how to just find the good. But I have to say, we have to allow God to do that, because the enemy wants to pervert that into a person being taken advantage of, because there's a fine line there.
Yeah.
God's grace will not allow you to be taken advantage of. And
Mm.
so I had to learn that. And so, because I always wanted everybody happy. And so through some hard times growing up, being bullied, I was bullied a lot because I wouldn't fight back. Wouldn't fight back because I figured I didn't know how to fight, but I just wouldn't. I was always scary. And unfortunately, that scariness and not willing to fight back and just kind of smiling and keeping it going I began to lie a lot. And as a little girl, I would lie to stay out of trouble, to make sure everybody was happy. So my point is, it kind of snowballs. So sometimes when you don't have that backup, you don't
Mm.
have that person to talk to that strong, you just figure out your own way. You figure out your own way to make it work. And I kind of just move through. And even I've spoken to this on another platform, but even in marriage, I thank God, my husband, like I said, 35 years, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle because we were so young. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it was God's grace. And
yeah.
that's for real. That's for real.
Well, I'm leaning into that a little bit because even to this day, and we all love our dad, and if to be honest with you, everybody loves our dad, right?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Of the joy of the Lord, right? So
Yes.
God has given us a grace, and we all make mistakes.
Yes.
We all struggle. We all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. But what I wanted to say was, and this is just me saying this to you before I even dive into the part I'm going to share, is that you never seem angry. You never seem, you came in with grace. You never even like there was just you didn't show signs of bitterness or resentment. And that's why I always tell people, I said, Cynthia will always have a special place in my heart, not just because she's my sister, but because number one, I know you as an anointed prayer warrior. I know if Cynthia says she's gonna pray, she gonna
Yes.
pray. She don't do breath prayers. You're like, Lord, just bless her.
Mm-mm.
She literally goes in and prays. And so
Yeah.
that grace, but then the grace to forgive. And I have never seen anyone more forgiving than you, because, and I literally mean that with my whole heart,
Wow.
because the grace on your life just exudes forgiveness and just love. And so in that moment, I want to say, were you ever angry with our Father?
I was, yes, a little bit, but I guess I was more disappointed.
Okay.
I won't say I was mad or angry. I was disappointed. And like you said, everyone makes mistakes, and I think he was scared. And when I when I came around, because he didn't know how I would react.
Yeah.
And so, I was just disappointed, and but I was not angry. I just, let me just say this. I saw so much anger from different people growing up, and I felt that I didn't want to be that person, because what was it really going to do? That anger, would it make things better? Would it help really? No, it wouldn't. And so that's why I choose, and it is a choice. I choose to just say, Lord, I trust you in this, and just let it happen. And one thing I want to share with you, I did tell Dad this. This was because when I met you all, and you'll go into that a little bit, it was actually 11 years ago this year. I have to look back. But one of the things I told him, because, he was kind of, I could tell, nervous. And he called me one day and we were talking. And this is what I said. I said, Dad, listen, however old I was, I said, we can't go back. We have to start from here. You can't do what I need as a 12-year-old, as a 13-year-old, as a 15-year-old. At the point we are now, I'm an adult. Let's just go from here. And that, to me, set our platform. That set our foundation, just to move forward and not to look back, because it's not going to help.
Now, what's interesting about that is that I think that is so beautiful, and I'm full from hearing you say that, because so many people get stuck of what you weren't, but they don't know how to move forward to where we are now and how we can go. We don't have to stay here. Let's go from here. And it doesn't mean you don't have to heal, because I'm sure there's some healing has to take place. But the thing that I thought was so amazing was that our Father is just like that. Like, literally, like what Cynthia said, he has a move on spirit. He will give you the grace and keep it moving. And he always has. That's just, but I always say this, Cynthia, I say, I always give grace because I want somebody to give me grace.
Yes.
And gave me grace. So, but for grace and mercy, where would I be? My story has not all been told yet. So I don't know what journeys and hills I'll face. I have to trust God. But at the same time, I can't put other people in prison because of their mistakes, because I don't know where I'm going to be. I'm praying to stay walking whole. Well, anyway, that's a whole nother story for another day. But I do want to say that, so the year that I met Cynthia, I remember this like it was yesterday. Me and Wes were living in Madison, and I was laying in the bed, and I wake up very early as usual. And I woke up abruptly, like it was like an abrupt thing. And I said, Wes, I feel like I need to meet my sister. And he was like, what are you talking about? Now, it's so interesting how messy people are messy. God rest the woman's soul that did this. When I was in beauty school, probably 18 years prior to this me waking up, a lady came and sat in my chair in beauty school, and she said, how's your older sister? And I was like, my older sister? I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest grandchild on both sides. I'm the oldest child. So there is no other sister. She said, no. Your older sister. And I said, I don't have an older sister. I said, I am the oldest. Did you hear me? She said, well, isn't Pastor Crawford your grandfather? And I said, yes. She said, oh. And I mean, by that time, I'm curious, like, what are you talking about? And that was some mess, right?
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing.
She knew what she was doing.
And she knew about your former church, Evangelistic Crusaders, and she knew all of it. So, it was just a setup, and it was just through conversation, you talking to your stylist or whatever. So anyway, fast forward, I addressed my grandmother about it. We have to talk about a grandmother's grace too. But I addressed my grandmother, and she was like, well, yeah, it was kind of sad, but if and blessings to my grandmother, and she was a praying grandmother, our grandmother, but she still was like, well, if he didn't, and she said this to Cynthia, so I could say it.
She did.
Said, if he didn't own it, I didn't own it. Back in those days, we just like, if he didn't own it, I didn't own it. And so and I just think about all these things. So anyway, fast forward to me waking up. What happened was, Wes was like, what are you talking about? And I said, remember when I was in beauty school and that lady told me, I said, and my dad did tell me that there was, a young lady who may be my sister or whatever. So I called Shauna, and Shauna said to me, I'm not surprised, because the Lord told me.
Wow.
It's time. She said, I'm not surprised, because the Lord told me and showed me it's time. So this was about April. And hearing the story later, Cynthia told me that my nephew, her son, Antonio has started saying he wants to meet his family, and Cynthia
Yes.
started fervently praying for that
Yes.
to happen. How ironic, and how
Yes.
God is that, not ironic, but how God is that literally the month that I am waking up in my spirit is the same month that Tony starts praying. I mean, talking
So me
about
about right.
so crazy. So I usually get all my nieces and nephews, I didn't have grandbabies then, but I get all of them together with my daughters, and we would have family time with the kids. And I say, siblings, y'all can have a break for one night, and whatever. So I know David, it was getting Micah christened,
Michael Christian, right.
and Leona happened to be sitting in the audience. But let me tell you the funny part of this, and a lot of people don't know this. So I said, well, we were having some family members that were having marital problems and different things like that. And I called our dad and I said, Daddy, I really would like for you to come and talk to us as siblings. I said, I'm getting all the family together. I really think Micah's getting christened Sunday. I said, why don't you just come and sit and talk to us? I said, because, we must heal through your healing, through your testimony, not knowing that Leona was going to be sitting in the audience at the
Right.
christening.
And the thing that is important to note is that the church that Leona went to was the same church that David and Katie went to.
Right.
That's how that they didn't know each. They went to the same church. I wanted to point that out.
They went to the same church, and
Same
all of a
church.
sudden they're fellowshipping, not knowing.
Yeah, not knowing.
And to catch you guys up, Leona is Cynthia's sister,
Yes.
and who's gone on to be with the Lord. But the
Yes.
thing was that we had no idea that we were going to show up at the christening of David and Katie's church, and Leona was going to be there the same day I had scheduled for my dad, our dad, to come to have a family meeting to talk to us about overcoming these struggles and these battles of
Wow.
the journey of whatever the things we were dealing with. And so I won't go into details about how it happened, but that was the day that God erupted. And I
Yes.
said he allowed some eruption to take place to be able to show his grace, to not only bring Cynthia into our lives, but also for my dad to have to, I guess, openly be honest about
Yeah.
his journey. And it wasn't scheduled because he was nervous. And if he's watching this, he's gonna know. But I did send him a message, but he was like telling Kylie, "What does Nisha want to talk about? What does she exactly want me to do?" and not knowing that the Lord was going to open a door where he would have to start off. He started it off for us. His
Wow.
grace was sufficient.
Yeah. And
So
literally that situation. And as I looked at it, because when you asked me to interview me and what did I want to talk about, I'm going to be honest with you. I kept thinking to myself, well, I don't have a ministry and I don't have a big business to talk about. And I was almost beating myself up about it. And the Holy Spirit kind of like slapped me back and said, you tell your story. That's your ministry. That's what it is. That's going to free people, because and remember, I emailed you.
Yes.
And what I saw, what the Lord showed me, is that every part of our family from that, and I'm not saying it didn't start before then, but I know from that point on, chains began to break. You cannot heal what is not revealed. Once things began to be revealed, different areas of our family's life began to break open and heal.
Yes.
And so I saw that even Dad, if we be honest.
Yeah,
which is a great thing. So yeah.
Yes. And I want to go back and say something, because just so everyone will know, the reason we shifted things with Insightful Moments with Coach Nisha is because we are moving into a different area of just not businesses, but really topics. And I think that there's such a grace, as you know, our family is going through a very difficult storm. But and I say, no, I heard this last night. We're not going through it. We're growing through.
All right. Yeah. That's
very
good.
difficult storm. But I want to say that during that time, I believe that was what we needed, was for the interruption to the regular scheduled program. And I want to encourage people that if God interrupts your regular scheduled program with some things that may seem challenging, that's just an opportunity for his glory to be revealed
Yes.
and for him to allow us to grow and expand. But the grace and love of our Father, and I really want you to speak to that, because I feel like more than anybody in out of all of our siblings, you have that joy and that grace. And I just want to and I will be interviewing him and talking to him in June.
Oh,
Okay, so he's coming for Father's Day. I the Lord told me it's time to talk to your daddy on Father's Day,
mhm.
but that's gonna be a great time. But
Yes.
I just want to say, Cynthia, how can you explain that grace that God gives you through joy, through trials? I know you've been through some storms. We all
Oh
have.
yeah. Oh
Even
yeah.
as our family is walking through this journey, how can you encourage people about that grace and that joy, even in the midst of the storm?
Well, what I can say is this: those of us that believe in the Lord Jesus, and it goes back to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is trusting that God is faithful. And one of the things I remind myself often, I mean often, just really every day when I'm going through anything, I say, Lord, you are faithful. What does that really mean? That is something that means that you will not leave me. And so how do I pull the joy or the grace out? Trusting in the faithfulness of God. Because a lot of times, and we're human, we look to people, we look to, to help us or to answer that problem that we need, but a lot of times it's not going to come through people. And I think with me and
Mm,
dad, especially because of that, it's looking beyond the disappointment and
yeah,
trusting in the faithfulness of God. It's looking beyond. And that's hard sometimes
yeah,
because you're in the situation, you're in the moment. But what I have held on to is just believing the good,
yeah,
believing the good. And so that's the best way I can encourage someone, because there are people I'm sure that are going to see this or looking at it now have broken relationships,
yeah, yeah,
whether it's in your marriage, whether it's your children, whether whatever it is. But you have to trust in the faithfulness of God that He will heal and
yeah.
He will restore. And it's all about your perspective on it. We
Okay.
cannot take on the mindset of what others have said or what even the world has said. We have to say, Lord, I trust that you'll do this and that you'll bring me out. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a choice.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
choice. Yeah.
That's so good. Well, it's a choice today to have the grace and to embrace it. I wanted to talk about a little bit about. I mentioned this that when Cynthia came in, our brothers, took a special place, and she took a special place in our brother's heart. And I think we're pretty close, but I could tell that uh, our brothers really like latched on to Cynthia. And then I'm gonna also say, so that's a grace, because they needed Cynthia in their lives, and I really know that. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm very grateful for God knows what you need at the point that
Yeah.
you need, even if it doesn't always feel good. The other thing is that I thank God for you, because my daughters is and Kristen, you know, they have special places, and where that they may not be able to talk to mom, they may not be able to talk to Shauna, Deborah,
Mhm.
Rachel. They come to Cynthia, or vice versa. They can't talk to
Mhm.
Cynthia. They talk. You know, we're there for each other in this family like none other. But God knows what you need at the point of need. Even my mom, and I have to say about a grace. My mom has a grace
Yes, Lord.
that is different, but she just took Cynthia right on in. That's my daughter too, right? With
She
no,
did. Yes, that is my Mama Maria. Oh my God. And that's such a blessing, because now I have to be honest, that I didn't expect, because I was not sure what to expect, if that makes sense.
yeah,
I and the thing that sticks out to me really, and my mom mentions this all the time, at Mom Maria's 70th birthday. And this was so impactful to me because it was beautiful. And you remember it was at a church, and it
yeah,
was so
gospel,
many,
yeah,
yes, it was so many people. My mother was there, and it was so many people there. And when they called for all her children to come up, I was sitting there. And your mother, my mom, Maria, said, no, Cynthia has to come up here. And I almost was like, no, no. And She wanted me to stand up there. And that, you all do not know how that made me feel. I was like, oh my God. Because I mean, yes, I'm your brothers and sisters, but I'm like, that's your mom. No, that's my mom too.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you are her daughter too, girl.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I thank God for that, because, and this is just to encourage families that no matter if you're blended, no matter when
Yeah.
you come on the scene, um, God's grace is sufficient. And that's what we're talking about here, is a sister's grace. And this is my sister, Cynthia, if you all have just joined us. And this is an opportunity for you to hear not only our personal testimony, but also the grace of God that comes at a time and a point when you need him.
Yes. Yes.
And his grace is sufficient. So
Yes.
Cynthia, I would love for you to encourage our viewers and just to share how people can really overcome these obstacles through God's grace, because I know that sometimes, and even maybe you can encourage us. Look, I know you'll be encouraging people, but you're probably encouraging me and you too, because of just us losing our nephew and
Yes.
our siblings, and even I want you to speak to marital storms,
Yeah.
and children's storms. I just would love for you to encourage the people of God to just say, hey, this is how his grace will be sufficient for you.
Well, I'll say this because we have been through a lot recently, our family. I personally can say, even spoke to this different storms that I've been through. And I believe with all my heart, it starts with honesty.
Yeah.
If you cannot be honest with yourself, it's hard to be honest with someone else. And it took me a long time in my own personal journey to be honest with some of the struggles I went through, even in my marriage, even with raising my children, because I was a teenage mother. I got pregnant at 15 years old, had my son at 16. And so there was a lot of shame attached to that. And
Mhm.
so going through, it would take a whole other segment to go through all that, but going through those storms and growing up without brothers and sisters, just my one sister. And the thing of it is, Leona and I were a little kind of different, but what the Lord showed me and what we have to understand, everything in your life that you go through, nothing is ever wasted.
Yeah.
Nothing is ever wasted. The hard times, the struggle, the disappointment, because we trust the God that came to give us life. We trust the God that has better for us. Even in that struggle, it's not wasted, because you can use your testimony to bless someone else.
Mm.
And so I believe that, going through different things that we go through, even in this season now, we're on the Easter weekend.
Yeah.
Jesus died on the cross,
Yeah.
and he rose
Yes.
for us. And
Yeah.
we have to believe that. One of the things that I didn't recognize about myself, because I didn't know growing up, I mean, I guess no one spoke into me that I had a mercy gift. Shauna was the first person that ever said that to me. And I was like, oh, and it made so much sense to me why I act and react to things the way I do. And so I would just encourage each of us. God has given all of us something. And even through our struggles, nothing is wasted. That hard time, that time you went through with maybe lack, you didn't have what you needed. God will, it's not a good thing, but God will allow you to see the good in it, and he will turn it for your good. So
Yeah.
nothing, no experience is wasted.
Yeah.
I believe that we just have to be grateful to God and trust him and believe that he's going to work it out for us.
Yes, yes. Something you said, and then we're gonna get ready to close. But something you said about that being honest, and I know that I had to be honest with myself, because I was so busy making sure everybody else was okay with my sister Cynthia, and y'all are not gonna shun her, and making sure my siblings were okay. Our siblings, trying to make sure everybody else was comforted and good. And I opened up the home, and I did all these things
Mhm.
to make sure everybody was okay. And I never was able to face my own honesty about everything. And not that I ever, I think I have the same mercy gift. I've never wanted to shun, but I never was able to face the truth about how it really made me feel in my expectations of what I was
Mhm.
for. And I really thank God that we had a heart to heart, me and Cynthia,
We did.
and we're very honest with one another, which is really a blessing. And we were able to just share our hearts. So that being honest is but being honest without hurting people, even though it
Right.
may not feel good. But I don't know, maybe you could speak to that. Even
Yeah, well, I mean, and so for me, I was coming into it. I'm the big sister. I didn't know what that meant. And so
right.
I was looking at you and, looking and almost feeling a little bit of shame because I'm like, well, they have this and they're doing that, not understanding you and Wes's journey, you know. And so we have to be careful not to compare journeys.
Yes.
Come into it and be who God created you to be. So I was
Oh, yes.
looking, not understanding, how do I be a big sister? Am I supposed to call everybody every day? Am I, just not understanding. And it took me a while to get comfortable in just being Cynthia.
And you know
And
what?
don't
That's so funny because remember Shauna said, God is not confused with birth order.
yeah, come
And
on,
that
yes,
was a powerful, powerful statement because she was like, Nisha, God wasn't confused when he made you the oldest. And even though you're the oldest here, and Cynthia still may be the oldest of all 9 of us, but guess what? God is not confused with the fact that she was the baby of her and her sister.
that's right.
And
That's
that
right.
was huge. And so I say that to say that and we embrace all of our siblings.
Oh, yeah.
I think if people came into our life today and said, you belong to us, even if they didn't belong to us, we're going to embrace them anyway. I feel led to say that because sometimes there are some areas where everything hasn't been revealed in life.
Right, right, right.
But we know that we are the family of God, and that's what's so important as well. I don't know why I felt led to say that, but I felt led to say that. I had to say that. But just that being honest with each other, and I thank God for you. I just want to tell you, I told her this openly at another conference or something, but I was like, I thank God for my sister Cynthia, and me being that oldest kind of mentality. Sometimes I don't always reach out like I should because I'm always taking care of so much. But Cynthia, God has given her the grace to, at the moment you need it, you've been on my mind. What's going on? Or let me
Yep.
pray for you, or I'm praying for you, or a word of encouragement. I mean, so y'all can't beat that. But y'all can't have her either. Okay. I'm just kidding. All right. So any last words you would like to leave with everyone?
Well, I just want to once again thank you for this opportunity. This is so great because I often wonder when we would ever really begin to tell our story because some people, they know but they didn't know. So
Yeah.
this is a great opportunity, and I want this to be a healing
Yeah.
opportunity for the listeners and the watchers. I'm telling you, a healing opportunity. Those discussions that you need to have them. Whether
Yes.
it's your spouse, whether it's your children,
Yeah.
your parents. Some of our parents are hurting because of past things they've been through.
Yeah.
And sometimes we as children, we're adults, but we can sit down and talk to them about those things
Yeah.
because we have a little more knowledge. So I would just encourage the listeners, have those conversations, pray before you talk, let the love of God come through and know that God has given us all a journey, but we have an expected end. And that end is peace and love and unity. And of course, we know that's what the enemy doesn't want. So let's stomp on his head and uh, give that love out to each other. And I
Yeah.
believe that God will really bless us for that. So that's what I want to just encourage us, have those conversations, have those talks. Let's love each other. Let's extend the grace that we want to receive.
Yes. Extend that grace you want to receive, you guys. Well, it's been a great day talking to
Yay!
my sister, Cynthia Means. I'm so
Yay!
grateful you joined us.
I love you.
Guys, go subscribe to Nisha's Network YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to Nisha's Network YouTube channel. You won't be disappointed. You can go back and watch all of our archives of all of our talks and topics and interviews. It will be really, really great for you guys to do that. If you're interested in joining nishasnetwork.com, Nisha's Network is a great avenue. I can't tell you how many people showed up to what's the name of the optical place in Evergreen
Oh
Park.
my God. American Vision Center. Oh my God. Yes.
So many people came because they were connected to
Yes.
Nisha's network. So
Yes.
it's more than a connection, but I just want to say you feel free to join and subscribe, and you can allow your business to be put on display as well.
Yes.
Sister, I love you. Thank you
I
so
love you
much.
too.
I
Thank
want you
you.
to hang tight. We will be
I
back,
will.
guys, next week and with more of Insightful Moments with Nisha. Thank you. God bless.
God bless.
Yeah, 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 yeah.